Hello and welcome to our virtual Meet the Teacher Night. This is the first way we've ever done it this way, so I'm going to be kind of sharing this presentation with you now, and you can watch that and then write down any questions, and we can go over those during our Zoom meeting later today at 5:30. So I'm sorry we can't be together in person. I'm going to go through this information as quickly as I can, but also trying to make sure that I am thorough and going through everything that you need to know. Make note of any questions and then bring those to our Q&A Zoom session later this afternoon. First, a little bit about me. My name is Mrs. Roy. I'm Molly Roy. I am from Carmel. I have lived in Carmel my whole life. My whole family still lives in Carmel. We love the community. I love being a part of this community and adding to it as a teacher. I think it's the biggest honor in the world to be teaching here and working with your kids. So thank you for sharing them with me. In addition to being a teacher, I am also a cheerleading coach. So I coach cheerleading at Carmel High School. So you will find me there quite often if I'm not here in the classroom or at home with my family. I graduated from Butler University in 2014 with a degree in elementary education and special education. I used my special education degree as a resource teacher for 2 years, and I still use it as I am teaching in the classroom today. I also graduated from Ball State with a master's in administration a couple years ago, so I have that as well. I live at home in Fishers with my husband Wes and our 7-month-old daughter Livy, and I have a little picture of her as well. I was so excited to add her to our family last year, and I loved getting to come back to your children in person finally. First things first, we want to talk about homework. In first grade, we don't assign a lot of homework that needs to be collected or turned in. So instead, we really want to try to build habits. So we want to build learning habits instead of homework. We want to build like the habit of reading every night, the habit of practicing math with home links. So with home links, whether you have me or you have Miss Gerner, we do it pretty much the same way. You'll get either a Canvas post or a piece of paper or an email. So whatever communication you're using. For me, I'm going to put it on Canvas if you have me for math, and that will be kind of a weekly set of what you have to do for home links. So at the beginning of the week, we'll say, these are your home links. These are the lessons for the week and the home links that go with it. You'll get to go through those, and you can decide as a family when you want to do those. Maybe you want to do more than one of them in one day if you have a really busy evening coming up. We want to give you that flexibility and the opportunity to do what works for your family. So we think that's really important. So for those math home links, there will be ones assigned almost every night. They don't start until lesson 1.7, so we have a while to go. We did 1.2 today, so we have a while to go before they start, and we'll do a little bit more communication before they start so you guys are ready to go. The kids will also know that they're coming. They got their home link books either yesterday or for Miss Gerner's class or today for me. So you guys have those books at home. Keep them at home. Do not have them bring them back to school. We will have them tear out those sheets to bring them in on Fridays so that they can turn them in on Fridays if they did them. The home links are optional but highly encouraged. We also really encourage you to read or have the kids read at least 15 to 20 minutes a night. It has been research-based that is really helpful, and it's also research-based that whether you read with them or read to them or they read on their own, it's beneficial no matter what. Any reading is helpful. So 15 to 20 minutes a night. And then finally, we have high-frequency words, and that's going to be with our OG curriculum. So I'm going to kind of show you that real quick. You can see kind of on my camera, this book is going to be coming home tomorrow. It's our OG Orton Gillingham reference book. And this is kind of our phonics that we work at. I'm going to show you the digital version so that you guys can see more closely what it looks like and what's in those pages. So the first page is just kind of an alphabet with picture card clues to help the kids with that beginning sound, like A, apple, ah, B, boy, ba. So if your child needs a little bit more practice with those letter sounds, you can use that page to help them. It also talks about the syllable types, and we're going to be talking about these all year long. Your kids are going to know all different types of syllables. One thing that's really awesome about Orton Gillingham is it really dives into kind of all about different types of words so that they can really break those words apart, especially as they get into older grades and get more difficult words. Knowing these will be really, really helpful when they find unknown words. These are just the different types of syllable division. A dog word is just a one-syllable word. A catfish word is a compound word. We're going to work on a lot of dog and catfish words. We'll start with some rabbit words. We probably won't get a ton into the other ones, but it's really good just to kind of have on hand some of those words so that you guys know the language as well. And there's examples of all those different types of words in there. As you go through, eventually you'll get to the lesson pages, and that's what I want to kind of talk about, those OG weekly skills. So In each week, we're going to have different skills or sounds or a phoneme that we're working on. And the rule, or what sound will come next, will always kind of be at the top. Then they have green words. The green words use the week's phonemes or the week's rule or sound that we're practicing. There's also nonsense words. These are really important because that shows us kind of whether the kids are able to apply the rules in different ways, even if it's a word that they don't recognize, even a word that they maybe don't have memorized. Finally, we have the red words. The red words are words that we do want them to memorize. Either they don't follow them the rule, or they're the high frequency words that they see over and over or have to spell over and over. We want them to be able to read and write those words. First, we want to make sure they can read them. So if your child's not able to read them yet, make sure that you work on the reading first and then spell the word. So it's important for them to do both. Finally, we'll have a dictation sentence. I'll read a short sentence to them, and then they will do that. That will help me check whether they're able to use correct capitalization. It'll also check their spelling and their punctuation, kind of being able to put all of their skills together at once. So for example, our first week, this week, we're working on CK and DGE. So the green words are words that use those, like pack, trick, deck, that uses that CK at the end of short words after short vowels. And then we have the DGE, like judge, bridge, edge, that's that J sound at the end of short words. We have some nonsense words that go with that as well. And then they have their red words, those sight words, the high frequency words that we want them to memorize for spelling and reading. And there's right next to it is a practice at home sheet. So you can give them words to practice at home, practice their spelling. Every Friday, we will do a skills check where we kind of I'm going to give them a paper and I'm going to check whether they can write some of those green words, whether they can write a couple nonsense words using that rule, whether they can write the red words using the rule. Keep in mind that it may not be the exact words that we're using. We're really looking to see that they can apply the skill, which is that k at the end of short words after short vowels is spelled with CK, or J at the end of short words after short vowels is spelled with DGE. So thinking about those rules and applying them, and that's what we're learning this week. Next, we have our green folders. Hopefully, all of you have seen those come home. So they should go home and return to school every single day. If you ever need to send in money for something, whether it's lunch money or something, you can put it in there. Make sure you write the student's name. Make sure it's on an envelope. Write the student's name and purpose on it. I will check those green folders every single day when they come in the room. They open their green folders to show me that those folders are empty. So if anything comes home in the folder, it can stay home, unless I let you know otherwise. Most likely there's not going to be papers passed back and forth this year, particularly if there's something I need to collect from you. It will 99.9% of the time be digital. I don't foresee anything coming home paper. I'm not going to say 100% just in case, but if there's something that needs to come back to me as a paper, it will almost always be digital instead. So I'm not going to send papers home that need to be sent back. So everything that's sent home in their green folder can stay at home. And then you can also send stuff back. You can also send transportation notes home in that green folder. However, I do want to caution that just because I cannot send a child a different way based on a piece of paper that you sent me. It has to be done through school dismissal manager by 1:30. So make sure that if your child's going home a different way than their default, that you do that in school dismissal manager. We get a sheet at the end of the day and we have to make sure we follow that. For our classroom management, we use conscious discipline. And with the beginning of the year, we really start with external motivators. And then as we move into a month or 2 months into school, we try to focus more on that intrinsic motivation. So right now, we're using some OOPS chips. We're working towards whole class goals. So right now, our whole class goal is to earn some extra recess so that we can, if we read for 15 minutes all together without anyone moving around or looking off outside of their book and things like that. So we're starting with the external motivators, and then we're moving into the intrinsic motivation, and that's what we really want to focus on in first grade. Really thinking about why we need to follow rules and procedures to keep everybody safe, why that's important, and kind of using that as we go through. We also use conscious discipline within our classroom, and it's research-based. It focuses on different parts of the brain, and when a student is nervous or anxious or scared, the brain functions differently. If they're in that elevated state, the brain can't process problem-solving skills. So we need to kind of approach that differently. It's instead of kind of being on them necessarily or using that, we want to make sure we talk them through it to get them in a calm state first before we can go through that problem-solving process. And we do different things like a morning check-in and a greeting. That helps us kind of check in with those kids every single morning. I greet every single student individually as they come into the room. We'd either do an elbow bump or a fist, or we don't really do fist bumps anymore, but an elbow bump or a toe tap. We air high five. Our greetings looks a little different this year since we can't touch each other, but that's still a greeting. We still kind of have some kind of connection in the morning. That's a great check-in to make sure that they have having a great start off to their day. We also do a morning check-in that's on their device. So if they ever are learning at home, they will do that as well. It just lets me know how they're feeling in the morning. It gives me their lunch choice, and it gives me just kind of a way to check in and make sure that they are doing okay. There's also a conflict resolution time machine. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and a Brain Smart Start. So the Brain Smart Start is something that we do every morning. This is one of our rituals. So Conscious Discipline uses a lot of rituals and routines, and that helps kids kind of stay on track with what they need to do for the day. So the first thing we do is disengage stress by doing some breathing exercises. There's 4 breathing exercises that we've learned: the star breath, balloon breath, faucet breath, and pretzel breath. And the kids know these. We've practiced them. They get to choose which breath works for them. We do these throughout the day as well. So they do the star breath. We do it 3 times. We do a wish well, where we wish everyone well in the classroom. And if there's anyone out sick or not in the classroom with us that day, we wish them well before they return. So we acknowledge that they are missing, and that we love them, and that we miss them, and that we're wishing them well while they're gone. We also make a commitment every day. So the class makes a promise to themselves and a promise to each other. We say, I commit to keeping myself and others safe. That's our class commitment every single day. And then they have a chance to also make a personal commitment. So they whisper to themselves a commitment that they want to make during the day. And at the end of the day, we try to check in to see if they actually followed through with that personal commitment for the day. Finally, we do a class chant. It's a very kind of self-affirming chant where they say, like, I am smart, I am confident, I am strong, I matter. And we kind of go through that chant together. There's some little motions that go with it. So we do that every single day, and that just kind of helps them. And finally, we do a class afternoon goodbye, kind of a class meeting. They can share deltas, which are things that didn't go so well in their day, so that we can talk about those to help make them better next time, and pluses, which are positives, things that went really well in their day, so that we can celebrate those. School-wide, we do Leader in Me. Leader in Me is something that we started a few years ago here at Prairie Trace, and it follows the 8 habits of happy kids. So the first 3 habits we talk about are just based on the individual, and those we start with, and we work on those a lot in first grade. Be proactive, that you're in charge of you. Begin with the end in mind. Have a plan. Put first things first. Work first, then play. Those are just about themselves. So we really focus on that part first. And then the next part is about working together. Think win-win, that everyone can win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen before you talk. And synergize. Together is better. Working together. Those next 3. So those next 3 are really about working with each other, and how you interact with others, and how you can do that successfully. So we want to make sure that we work on that. First, they need to be able to control themselves. I am in charge of me. I make my own decisions. I decide what I do. Then we move to the next tier, which is working with each other and interacting together. And we're going to be doing that a lot this year. It might look a little bit different. Obviously, the kids are wearing masks if they're close by, and we try to keep them as spread out as they can. They might do some digital collaboration as well. So it might look a little bit different, but we still want to make sure they're getting that practice. I think that's really important, that they're talking to each other, they're working together, and they're learning those interpersonal skills. And then finally, the last 2 are kind of within themselves, but kind of a step above. Sharpen the saw. First graders are usually really good at this one. That's just making sure you don't do too much work, and also make sure you leave some time for play. So we want to make sure that they do that as well. And then the 8th one, which is not on our tree over here because it's kind of new, that one is Find Your Voice. And we're going to work on that one with our magic, which we're going to talk about next. So magic is something that we do in our classroom. I know some of your kids came home and told you the first day that I love magic, and we do a lot of magic things in our room. And we use the acronym of MAGIC. M stands for Make Eye Contact. And we practice that all the time. We talk about how when someone is talking, if you look at them in the eye and you make eye contact, then you are showing that you care about them. You care about what they're saying. You're showing that you are listening. And that's really important when you're working with each other. So make eye contact is our magic M. Our magic A, is accept failure. Accept failure is where we talk about having a growth mindset. It's great to make mistakes because that means we are learning, and we encourage that. We encourage mistakes. We encourage messing things up because then that means you're learning, and we talk about what we learned from it. Magic G is probably my favorite. Magic G is get out of your seat. We haven't started that one yet. We're actually going to start it next week. Get out of your seat is whenever you are talking to the class, you stand up. This really helps develop kind of that the public speaking skills, so that when they are talking, they're talking to the whole class, not just to me. So if I ask a question, someone raised their hand, and I call on them, the first thing we do is track them. We want to track them with our eyes. We make eye contact. We do clap, clap, ooh, track them, and we point to that person. So we're pointing, we're looking to that person, and we are ready to listen to them, and they stand up. So all eyes are on that person who's standing up, and they're not just talking to me. They're not answering me. They're answering the whole class, because the question was not just for me. The question is for everybody. So we make sure that they're doing that. There is no I in team, and the Magic C, celebrate and empower others. Those kind of go together. It just means that we are working together, that it is not all about me, and we want to make sure that we're focused on that and celebrating others as well. Canvas. I know that Canvas was a struggle for some people in the spring, and I think we have a lot of those things cleaned up now, which is great. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to show you our class Canvas. So our class Canvas is the one that says Mrs. Roy, first grade. And we have our homepage. The Canvas is really going to be more of a learning tool for the students. I will also use it for communication. For example, like I have our Friday newsletter from last Friday. I'll post a newsletter every single week. You guys can check those. But kids will always go to the learning modules. Inside the learning modules, you see all the different things that we're doing in the day. If your child is ever sick or not with us, they can follow along everything that we're doing here at school here from Canvas. So when you click on our agenda, it's going to take you to what we're doing today. I always have a little video at the top of myself telling the class what's going on for the day. And they can just go through by pressing that next button. So as they go through, there's that morning check-in that we talked about with conscious discipline. They can go through, keep hitting next, and it will keep taking you through to the next thing in our day. So you can kind of check through that. It has lessons, we'll have videos. Everything that we do here in class will also be replicated here in Canvas. So you guys can always check that if your student is out, so that they can continue learning with us. Other communication, you can send notes in our green folder. Email is the best way to contact me. I have it on my phone, so I check it throughout the evenings and on the weekends. I will respond as quickly as possible. I will almost always respond within 24 hours. If you email me and you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please send me another email. I really want to make sure that I'm communicating with you and giving you everything that you need. So if you don't hear back from me, please send me another email. Sometimes I added you all's contact, so it shouldn't happen, but sometimes our Carmel Clay Schools email gets parent email sent to spam. So I may not have gotten it, it could have gotten lost in the shuffle, and hopefully that won't happen. I try to really keep track of that. So if I don't respond within 24 hours, let me know. We also will post pictures and things on Twitter and Instagram. That's something I'm trying to get better at, as well as posting more pictures. I'm going to try to post something at least once a week, so you guys can kind of keep in touch with what's going on in the classroom as well. Please don't hesitate to contact me for anything that you need. I'm probably an over communicator. As you can tell, I'm a talker, so I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but I have a hard time with that sometimes. So make sure that you don't hesitate if you have any questions. Next, we have kind of going into our curriculum. So in first grade, for language arts, we focus on reading most. And that's really the main focus. In first grade, kids make the most growth in reading in first grade compared to almost any other grade. And that is an awesome thing to see how far they get to come. Sometimes they come in as not readers at all, and they leave reading chapter books, and it's amazing. So I'm so excited. Reading is probably my favorite thing to teach. So I love going through that. We use Lucy Calkins as our curriculum for both reading and writing. They're very similar. They both start with a mini lesson, and then they go into independent or partner work. Our partner work might look a little differently, so sometimes it'll be other activities as well. But during that independent time, that's when I get to conference with kids, either individually or in small groups, and they all will have individual reading and writing goals. they all will have things that they know that they are working on and that I'm working on with them individually and in small groups. And that's where a lot of that major instruction will come through. So we get to really focus on making that individualized, focusing on what your child needs and what they need to work on individually. There's very little time that's spent whole class during that. There's about 10 or 15 minutes where we do that whole class lesson. And the rest is working independently, working in partners, working with me or another teacher in small groups. We have some awesome instructional assistants that come in and help us to be able to pull groups as well, so that everyone is getting worked with individually and in small groups. So they will all get that. We'll work on comprehension, word solving strategies, vocabulary, fluency, and things in both fiction and nonfiction books. And for writing, we start with narratives, those personal true story narratives. We're going to talk about nonfiction writing, some fiction writing, and series books. For our phonics, we use that Orton Gillingham program. If you remember, I showed you that Orton Gillingham green book. So those will be coming home to you this week, and you can use those to kind of help you. Orton Gillingham is multisensory, so they use their bodies to spell. We do like an arm spelling for our sight words. We do kind of the tall letters, the middle letters, the letters that go down to the basement. They do skywriting with their arms. They write on their desks with their dry erase markers. They think that's really, really fun. And we use lots of different tools to kind of help them think about those letters and sounds and words and all of those different parts. One thing that's really cool about Orton Gillingham is it unlocks the secrets to the English language. And actually, honestly, when I did the training, I learned a lot as an adult about why we spell things the way that we do. Sometimes in the English language, the rules don't seem to make a lot of sense, and it really makes sense of those rules for those kids. Instead of just memorizing it, it really breaks it down for them and talks about why the k sound is spelled with either a C or a K in different words, and kind of why that happens. So I think that's really important for them. For handwriting, we do handwriting without tears. With handwriting without tears, we work on uppercase and lowercase letters and numbers, and it really helps us identify and remediate number and letter formations, or if they do that incorrectly, in reversals. Until January of first grade, it's really age and developmentally appropriate for them to do some reversals. So if you see your child doing reversals like that BD reversal or the 9 going the opposite way or the 7, different reversals, that's age appropriate and that's developmentally appropriate really until January. It will happen probably sometimes and not all the time. And then by January, if it's still happening and they're still doing it, then I can send some additional resources home as needed, and we'll keep in contact with you if we're still seeing those reversals at that point. So that's something that you guys can watch out for as well. Next, we have our math program. Obviously, first and second grade math will be different, whether you have me for first grade math or Miss Gernert for second grade math. But either way, we use what's called everyday mathematics. And it's a spiral program, which means that we spiral back to the same skills that we did at the beginning all the way through. So they get lots and lots of review. It's kind of a constant review and adding, because especially in math, things are really building on each other. In first grade math, we do a ton of addition and subtraction strategies, especially first semester. That's really kind of our main goal at the beginning. And they're kind of sprinkling in some place value and graphing and money and time. But we get more into that second semester. First semester is really, really focused on addition and subtraction. For science and social studies, we have science kits. They're very hands-on. We talk about plants and organisms. For social studies, we use TCI, and we also kind of bring in a lot of other things with our shared read-alouds and things like that, to really kind of bring in culture to our classroom as well. We want to bring in not only culture that we have in our classroom, all the different cultures that we have within our class family, but also cultures that they'll see out into the world. And so we really bring those in through different lessons and different read-alouds and being able to see that. One thing that we are going to start, and you're going to get some information in a couple weeks, is our culture cases. This is an at-home project. You'll get some more information coming soon for that, where you are going to get to help your child kind of share their culture with the rest of the class and share some of your traditions. In December, we always do a holiday traditions. We usually do holiday traditions read-alouds. We love to have our parents come in and read aloud. However, this year it's not going to look exactly the same because we can't have visitors in the room. But I'm thinking we still want to do virtual visits. You can either Zoom into the class to read to them, or you can send in a video of yourself reading a holiday book from your family that you guys can share a little bit about your holiday traditions together with your child, so that we can share that and get to kind of bring in some of that culture, which I love. That's one of my favorite things that we do. And I've learned so much the past few years about different families and different things that they do during that holiday time. Next, we have report cards and grades. In first grade, we do standards-based grading or standards-based report card. And that just takes the standards from first grade, so the things that your child should be learning, and scoring them from 1 to 5. A 1 being no evidence of mastery, a 5 being clear evidence of mastery. The standards in first grade, they're expected to be mastered by May. So a first quarter, don't expect hardly any 5s unless they have truly shown clear evidence that they have that skill mastered and they don't need to work on it anymore. And probably not a lot of 4s. First quarter, it's really 2s and 3s. We really are mostly 2s and 3s. And there might be some 4s sprinkled in there. Don't be alarmed if you see 2s first quarter, because again, those skills that we're working on are going to be worked on the entire year. So our goal is to be a 5 by the end of the year. So a 5 in May is more of what we're looking for. So don't let those 2s alarm you. We're going to send a little bit more information out right before report cards come out, so you guys will see this again, and we'll kind of go over that. If you ever have any questions or concerns over report cards, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'd love to go through that with you so that we can talk about either what your child needs to help them improve, or what your child needs to help challenge them, or whatever it is that you have questions about. Finally, we do have Scholastic program in our book, so you're going to get these. I'm going to be sending them home this week. It's a little book order. Don't feel obligated. It's totally optional. It is just if you want to. However, if you are looking for more books at home, it's usually a little bit cheaper than Amazon or another bookstore. And it also gives us class points when you order from us. So when you order with my classroom code, which is there at the bottom, it's RK688. When you order from that, we get class points, and then I get to order books with those points for our class that are really high interest books for our class. For example, last year, I had a group of kids who really were into the Who Would Win books. They're nonfiction books about animals kind of battling each other in different parts of them. So that was really cool. I got to order some of those. Previous years, I had kids who are really into Pokemon, or we had a group of girls who are really into like the fairy tale Disney stories, so we ordered some of those. So we can order those high interest books to have here in our classroom library with those points. So not only does it give you books at home if you choose to buy them, but it also gives us points to have more books in the classroom. So I would love if you could order from that as well. Our PTO is doing our annual Soar Like a Hawk gift campaign. So we kindly ask if you are able to send a one-time donation of $50 per student. That would be great. These papers were sent home earlier this week. You can either pay through BidPal, or you can fill out this donation form and send it back to school. Again, you can put it in that green folder. Your child will come in, open that green folder, I'll see that paper, pop it right out, and I can hand it into our PTO. So the deadline for that is September 19th. So if you could send that in, that would be great. Finally, if you have any questions, I am excited to see you this afternoon for our Zoom question and answer session tonight at 5:30.